Shivi, thank you so much for joining us in this Fire Up series of startup conversations where we are trying to get some facet that the startup has done well. Every startup has something that they figured out. We're just trying to get those tidbits from different startups and compiling a list of best practices, so to speak. So you've chosen your journey with Empathy Labs. You've chosen to be in the preventive healthcare space.
Yeah.
So looking at emerging technologies beyond medicine, we look at emerging technologies, AI and such, for diagnostics and more for normal medical use. But this is more preventive rather than diagnostic. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So Shivi, thank you for joining us. And to get started, could you just quickly narrate the journey? I mean, how did you get the idea of Empathy Labs and how's the journey been in the last couple of years? If you can just give a quick narrative, that's a nice context for our discussion.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. I started this journey in 2015, actually, where I was a fellow for BIREC. So Department of Biotechnology, they had a fellowship program called SIP, Social Immersion Innovation Program, and it was actually formulated by BIREC. It was based on this Stanford biodesign model, where it was an 18-month long fellowship where 6 months you go on the field, you understand, you identify the challenges which people are actually facing in their real lives, and see if you can come up with a solution. So we were the guinea pigs, like we were the first batch of that fellowship. And when I joined, 6 months we were traveling around understanding what are the challenges. And that year's theme was maternal child care. So, we spoke to pregnant mothers, we spoke to fathers, we spoke to ASHA workers, mother-in-laws, doctors, nurses, even the person who's cleaning the PHC and CHC over there. So literally we tried talking to everyone, every stakeholder in that space. And I remember I came up with a list of around 180 problems in that 6 months, in that space. I still have that Excel sheet. And this is one of the problem which was quite prevalent there. And during that fellowship program, the idea was to come up with a solution to a problem which is most interesting to you. And this is one problem which took my interest. All the mothers I have been talking to during this time, they were mentioning that we have this experience. Some of them had good experience, some of them had bad experience, some of them had actually worse experience as well. But I somewhere found that doctors somewhere is skilled, even nurse and ASHA workers are skilled a bit, but mothers are the ones who are only dependent on their instinct. They do not have anyone else. And even most of the mothers, they are not even having partners. Even of course there are fathers around, but father was not even not as a active participant in the pregnancy. He was there, he was around, but not probably the way a mother expect. So because I come from human centered design background, this is something which is close to my heart, and I thought maybe this is the time if we can bring these two things together and help mother to have a healthy pregnancy. Because pregnancy, all the time people look at it as a disease, they call it as a patient. Even the pregnant mother who goes to hospital, people generally term her as patient, but pregnancy is not a disease. It's a special condition which needs a special attention. So we thought, okay, can we do something about it? And then, of course, stillbirth was the bigger picture, but the whole idea was to make a pregnancy in a healthier way so that we never see pregnancy loss or pregnancy risk like a stillbirth. And that's where we started Empathy Design Labs in 2017, and that's how the journey started.
And how long did it take to get the product conceptualized and designed and then get the first version of it?
So, sir, we started this. So I'll tell you, in October 2015 was the time where I was conceptualizing, just sketching the idea. I remember that time very briefly because that was the time, I was getting crazy that, okay, you can do anything, you can do so many things. But how would you come down to one? That was the challenge. And, it took some time, lot of iterations. There were a lot of times, lot of products. I made a lot of these prototypes. which did not work. Actually, we failed at times. Even whenever we used to take some data, the technology was not working. So we have seen all the lows possible in that time. But I think that was the time when we were learning that okay, what we can do better. And we found that okay, so sometimes it's about design iterations, sometimes it was about technology iterations, sometimes it's also about the user need as well. So the actual problem which we started with, it also changed over a period of time to reach that okay, how we can define our problem. Because you always look at the need, but that need has to be in a way so that it looks like a demand from your customer. So that's something, it took time. It took like about 3 years, I would say now. Yeah.
And so the product is in the market now?
No, sir, it's not launched yet because it's a clinical product. We have to go through all the clinical testing and verification and everything. So that's something we are doing, and we have done the feasibility study on our solution. Now, because we are manufacturing, we are at the MVP stage, so that we can actually manufacture and actually roll out the solution. So that's something we are doing. So hopefully, 6 months from now, we'll be deployment ready. So that's the stage we are at.
So the trials are happening right now?
Sorry, sir?
The trials are happening?
So we have done, so there are types of studies which you have to do. So we have done the initial clinical studies already. We will need probably a very quick and short sample, just to make sure that everything is working fine. But that doesn't need like a clinical setup or something. It could be like a very short, it's more like a testing of the product actually. So it will happen, by the time when we are ready with the product. Yes, so that's what we're doing. Yes.
So, so in your whole process, like in the biodesign process, when you're looking at the problems, were there other preventive solutions that you, I'm sure if you pick this, you must have looked at a lot of adjacent areas. What are the adjacent areas that you spotted?
Okay. So, like maternal child care, if we talk about, so that was the theme which was given, and you can understand that that's the whole nature, that's the whole universe, the maternal child, everything begins from there. And when you try to
That's
study
one
that,
of the most resilient aspects of nature, and also one of the most vulnerable. I mean, it's amazing how much resilience there is in that whole process, and also how vulnerable it is.
oh,
The
it is.
extremes are like amazing there.
And I think that's the beauty, I think that how many times you find beauty in the vulnerability. I think that's the most beautiful part of the entire, this entire phase. And I think that's what that I'm totally like fascinated about the entire, motherhood and the pregnancy thing. It's not just being a woman, but I think it's because the entire process, how these 9 months actually bring a life, into the world, and how it goes through in different things. So one of few things which we also looked at, so there were very common things which we generally see in the, from the doctor's perspective, which we got to know from the doctors. Say for example, there were certain equipments in NICU where the baby, especially the babies who are preterm babies or low weight babies who are admitted into NICU, so they need certain kind of attention to survive, so that they can come out of NICU and they can work. So we found that there's a need for these kind of things. But I think the interesting part which we looked at, which even like as a founder, which I found interesting, was the most neglected part of it. So for example, I'll give you a very basic example, like fathers. So most of the time, all these 6 months, I found fathers sitting outside of the delivery room waiting for the good news. That's, be it's a rural area or a urban area or a suburban area. That's the only, like all the fathers I found only in this space. And that's something, it did not change based on, people generally say, oh no, it is a problem of a rural area. It's not. It's like, if you go to an urban area, fathers are in the similar mindset. So it's not like they don't want to help. I think generally we actually misjudge them, that because they are men and they cannot do. But it's not like that. I've interviewed tons of fathers, and all the fathers, they said, actually most of the fathers, they said that I want to help my wife, or I want to help the mother of my baby, but I have no idea how to. I don't know how to. It's very much like the parent, where parent want to talk about their kids to about puberty, or about sex education, but they don't know how to initiate that conversation. So that kind of dilemma which I found, and I found that problem very, very interesting. So this is something we thought that if there is a way to include fathers into pregnancy, that's something we'll also push. So I'm just telling you like what I found as interesting. So this is something we
I mean,
tried.
like you've seen the healthcare space. I mean, through the immersion and then beyond.
Mhm.
We don't see too much of preventive products.
Yes.
Right? There are diagnostics or more like fitness related maybe. There are proper serious diagnostics,
Yeah.
but not so much of preventive. So what is your? I mean, why? I mean, emerging technology can help, whether it is AI or other forms of sensors or any of those will definitely help. Technology is there, but why do you think there are not enough of preventive products coming out?
Mm. So one, I'll tell you from even from my journey's experience. I'll share something. When I started thinking of a solution like this, of course, I did a competitor survey. So back in 2015, I'm telling you, there were literally no product available, which is even closer to the concept which we were building in. Internationally, I'm telling you, like I come from healthcare background, and I've done device design for 8 years. So I knew like who are the bigger players. I knew who are there around the world, but it was not there. But within that this span of this 3-4 years, nobody talked about wearables. Now we are living in a world of wearables. Every other person is having a health tracker. Like the people, and it's like there are the versions which are affordable, which people can actually wear it. There is a Fitbit for say 30-50,000. So then there is a Fitbit for a man for like 2,000 or 5,000 rupees as well. So it's also, so that has changed. So it's not just because of the aspiration only, it's also because people's mindset has changed. They're concerned about their health, they're concerned that how we can do this. And I think that mindset has brought the entire shift towards preventive care from the diagnostic. And I think also the other factor which I feel is doctors also have a lot to contribute in it. Like doctors, they do not want severely sick patient in their hospital. So they, because for them, the biggest, all the doctors I have spoken to so far, they always mention that my bigger pain is as a doctor to prioritize my patient. I want to give my attention to the patient who
Serious,
are,
really serious one.
yeah. And because if you are coming just for like a very normal symptoms, which for that you need not to come to the hospital, and then there is a person who's critically ill and is actually in the queue waiting, who needs my first attention and I can't give. So and this is a very common problem everywhere. So this is something I think doctors also contributed in this entire mindset, that you keep a check on your health. And I think that's where this preventive healthcare mindset is coming up, where people want to keep a check on their health rather than going to the extreme of the the risk they can possibly be in. Yeah.
So in your product, I mean, the whole mother and child well-being product, or so how much of technology is there? I mean, the sensors, of course, and these have to be all very baby safe, neonatal, I mean, safe sensors. So that's anyway there, hardware side of it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, what other emerging technology have you packed into this product?
Right. So our solution, it's a wearable patch, but we have included, it's a IoT and AI enabled solution. So the way we started with the IoT, but when we started looking at the data, the type of data it was generating, we were able to see a lot of patterns. We were able to see a lot of things which can actually help bigger health systems, which can even help individual users to understand that where their health is going. So this is where we thought, okay, let's include the AI, let's implement the AI on it as well. And that's where we took that decision. So now it's a solution, a wearable, which is IoT and AI enabled for now. So that's how the solution looks like.
And what are the, I mean, if you're going to use AI, what are the things that it can sense and predict?
Okay, so the key things, we wanted to start with the basic purpose of this entire solution. because you can make a complicated device. It is very easy. The hardest part is to design a simple solution. I think that's where it takes the longer time. And we had lot of pain points of pregnancy, but the one thing which we looked at is the mother's health, fetal health, the baby's health, and the mental health of the mother, because these are the three aspects we saw that have the strongest connection to the outcome of the pregnancy. If you keep a check on these three things, and if the basics of these three things are okay in a moderate or in a low risk stage, the outcome of the pregnancy going to be healthier in most, like 99% of the cases, I can say. But so that's something our device does. It tracks the health of mother, mental health, and the physical well-being, and the fetal health. So when I say mental health, it's basically takes the weekly monitoring of mother's mental health status, whether she's getting into a depressed zone. So it is based on a very clinical data. It's a authenticated data, which is already there is a guideline for this, that how you can actually identify a mother's mental health during pregnancy. So there are scores, there are the clinical inputs for that. So that's something we have done. The other part is, of course, mother's well-being, because it's not just the baby's health. If mother is healthy, definitely baby is going to be healthy, right? So that other part is mother's well-being. Like, we have taken into maternal heart rate. We have also taken some of the data is like antenatal data, like blood pressure, her history, her previous history, because she might have a complicated pregnancy in the past, and that has direct impact on the current pregnancy as well. So these are the things which we have taken into our account in our algorithm. And the third part, which is the most important part, which is picked by our sensor, is the fetal health, where we take fetal heart rate and fetal movement. So these are the parameters which we are tracking through our solution.
Very nice. So before we conclude, Shivi, can you share from you? You've been at it for the last 4 or 5 years now, almost 3 years as a startup, and then all the legwork before that. So one growth hack tip. I know it's still very early stage, but from your whole, especially, I think you've done extensive market need validation at every stage, which very few startups do. From all your experiences so far, one growth hack tip that you would share with other startups.
I think I'll tell you, sir, this is one thing which I have learned, and I want to do this, I think till the day I am alive. This is one thing I think which I have learned and experienced, and I learned a harder way. Like, I have learned by failing at it. So that's where I think I want to share. I think do it every day, whatever you are doing. It could be a startup. It could be just like a field research. It could be a market validation. It could be like a technical thing. It could be app design, iteration, whatever. No matter what you are designing, just do it every day. Just touch upon it every day. It doesn't work out when you just leave it for say 1 month, 2 months, and go back to that. And I'm telling you this. I come from design background, and for me, I live in a lot of creative space. But I still go back to these things. I think about this every day. We when you brainstorm on this every day, I think there's no other way to accelerate this. I think that's the only way out, sir.
It's a
For me,
fantastic
like
point. I mean, like they say, you sleep with it and you wake up with it. I mean,
yeah,
like that's how obsessed you must be with the idea that
yeah,
it's constantly on your mind and you do something.
correct, sir. I think people say this obsession. I don't think obsession is the right word for this.
In a good
It is
way,
more
yeah.
like a meditating. I think it's more of a meditating on this idea. I think that's what I do. I would not like to use the word obsession. It's more like I'm meditating over it. I'm living with it, like, and I'm enjoying this. I think the moment this is what you want to do, nothing stress you out. Like, you would not imagine how much lows I have gone through, but I'm still happy because I'm really, really happy that I failed at times, and I'm willing to fail even further, because that's the only way I can grow as a
It makes a lot of
founder.
sense. A very nice way
So
to put it.
yeah.
Meditating on it every day. I think it's a fantastic way to put it. I think that will bring all the positive thoughts and also the ideas that come. I mean, like they say, you never know when the idea comes. You just
Yeah,
have planned to be
I think
fulfilled and the idea will come back.
that totally, I think 100% correct. The only idea I think the new ideas or I think the most crazy idea come from this meditation thing. I'm following this meditation for last 10, 11 years, and I'm telling you, sir, I think that's what keeps you going. It's not something, I think we all need to follow. I'm not saying this, you follow this method or that method. Pick do anything. And if nothing, just meditate on your startup idea. That's all. That's the only growth tip I would say.
No, absolutely. I think like they say, anything you do with full heart and mind in it, is they say that is meditative anyway, whatever it is. When you have a heart and mind in it, that's meditative. Even if it is silence, or it could be even work, could be anything. I think it's a fantastic thought. Yes. So Shivi, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us on this Fire Up series. I think the video should go up in the next few hours. And thank you so much, and all the best. I know you got the Pone Record funding. And I hope that helps take it to the next level in the next few months. All the best, and we look forward to the product getting into the market.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and lovely talking to you.